Hello, my name is Curtis Steele, and I am the application developer for the ProAll Commander control system. In this video, we will go through mixer setup, which includes operator settings, printer setup, and mixer settings. If you have any questions after viewing the video, please call ProAll support at 403-335-9500. To adjust some of the basic operator settings on the display, we go to Menu, then Operator Settings. And on here, there's a few different things you can do. You can change the backlighting of the display by adjusting it up or down. Most of the time, especially in the direct sunlight, you want the brightness as high as you can get it in order to kind of counteract the sunlight or glare that you're getting off there. The keys, these keys actually, you can't really see it right now, but especially at night, they actually glow kind of a blue color. So if you wanted to change that, you can turn it up or down as well, the backlighting on the keys. You can also change your vibrator time. So this is for the automatic vibrator control. So again, on time. So vibrator 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the on time. And then the gap. So the gap is how far, or how many seconds in this case, between each vibrator sequence. So if we started at vibrator 1, it'll be on for 5 seconds, and then it'll wait for 5 seconds, which is your gap. And then vibrator 2 on for 5, stop for 5, then 3, and so on. So all these values are adjustable. You can also set your language. So right now we have the option for English or French. So if I hit French, you'll see it takes a second, but everything changes to French for the titles. Go back to English and changes back. The other thing you can do from this screen is you can change your units. Most of the time the units are set and pretty much fixed depending on the location that you're in. But for example, if you wanted to have all your mixed design or mixed entry information in metric units, but you wanted to show yards on your tickets or your printouts, you can hit cubic yards. So everything would be in metric except for the volume in this case. Or you can switch it back to cubic meters. The other thing you can do on this screen is you can change the home screen gauges, or how it displays the rates. So essentially, rate per minute, I'll just flip back and forth here for a second, but rate per minute would be things like RPM, so revolutions per minute, liters per minute, for the flows and things like that. Whereas you can, if you want, select production rate. And now what you're going to have is everything is going to be in liters per cubic meter or cubic meters an hour in the case of the production. So it's a preference thing. It just depends on how you want to do it. All the red bars and everything else will all move up and down depending on how fast you turn your belt speed. But essentially, when you're in production rate mode, the value is from your mix design. So in this case, the mix design is 150 liters per cubic meter. So we'll go back, change that to rate per minute. So that's the main operator settings page. You can also, I'm just going to go back to the main menu here, go to mixer settings here, and printer setup. You can select what you actually want to print on a ticket. So the default is what you see here, but you can select whether or not you want to, print the actual strength on the ticket. So you just uncheck the box. You can select if you want to print the water cement ratio. All these values are selectable. So you can select everything if you want, and it'll print a ticket of all these values. The print actual and print calc have to do with load cell option on the cement bin. So in this case, or in this example, we're just using a standard machine without load cells, so you print the calculated weights. On the mixer settings screens, there's a few different options on here. You can enter in a truck number or a fleet number for your truck if you want. In this field, you can enter in your company name, and this will print out on your ticket. You'll know on these things here, we go over this in the mix entry video, but you can change your mix entry calculation mode, the maximum water cement ratio that you can use on the home screen. and your maximum gate height for your calculation mode in the mix entry. All these values here, the function settings, are really just options that you may have purchased with your mixer. Most of these will be unchecked for a standard unit. If you have some special stuff like scaled cement bin and things like that, then you might have cement auto checked and things like that. But for the most part, all those values would be unchecked. Of course, you can set up your time and your date for your printed tickets. And there's some other options here on the side that go over in more detail in the Commander manual, but you can set some, you can turn your cooler on manually if you want to do some testing. You can set your lube and your grease system on manually. There's just a few things that you can do here. And then in your mixer options, again, this is really based on the machine that was purchased, whether or not you have this option or not. So all these values would typically be checked from the factory based on the options that you have. If we go on to the main mixer settings and maintenance screen, you'll see there's some other things that you can adjust here. Things like the RPM delay. So if you have a donkey engine, for example, and you're running the auto link mode, you can actually set it so that the engine has 1.5 seconds to ramp up before the mix auger and belt start. So that can be adjusted here on the screen. You can set your cooler on and off temperatures. These will all be set to default values before the mixer leaves the factory. So for the most part, they don't have to be changed, but if you do need to change them, they're there. These values here are for, again, scaled cement bins, so you can set a low-level alarm based on weight. Auger jam is the pressure that the auger has to get to before it will automatically stop the belt, indicating a jam. The lube on and off cycles have to do with the chain oiling system. So in this case, the belt has to turn 150 revolutions before the chain oiler cycles 5 times over the length of the belt. And then this last one here is your auger ramp. So essentially it ramps, in this case, 3/4 seconds before it hits full speed on startup for the mix auger. This is important. The values on the sides here where it says boom, up, down, shoot, up, down, and swing left and right. These are actually your speed values for those specific functions. So if you wanted to slow your swing down, you just simply tap the value, in this case 75, and you'd use the rotary knob and slow it down. So that will actually slow down the swing left. And that goes for any of these functions. You can just touch the value and slow it down accordingly. This Admix 1 here, it says low right now, that's the default. What that has to do is I'll go back, the scale here for Admix 1. So right now it goes up to 2 liters per minute. If you wanted to have a higher scale for Admix 1, you would just simply tap this and go medium. And now Admix 1 goes up to 4 liters per minute. So it depends on your application and what you've ordered for options, but that does give you the option to change the scale for Admix 1. And then this value down here where it says auger wash, when you hit the washout mode button, it automatically slows the auger speed down to, in this case, 25%, so that it's not making a huge mess. Or if you do adjust it down, the speed, you don't have to remember to adjust it back up before you go and mix concrete. So that's kind of an automatic function when you hit auger wash or washout mode. The last thing on the screen here that is important is this user level settings. So you have a password for each for the main user levels. So there's just one main password. So you can adjust here. There's 3 different user levels that you can use, which each one, the details of each level is explained in the Commander manual. But if you select a user level other than 0, when you go into certain menu functions, so for example the mix entry screen, we can actually try that. So if I hit user level 1, I go menu, mix entry, you'll notice that it brings up this password protected screen now. The password was admin as default, and now I can go into mix entry. if I go back into here, it automatically puts a password on this screen because it allows you to set the password. So you have to put a password to go back in. So if I set this back to user level of 0, now I can go into Mixentry without a password. So it's just a preference thing, but it does give you the option to password protect certain screens. Thanks for watching this video, and please contact ProAll support if you have any further questions.